All right, good news, Aztecs fans. Reese Waters, he is going to be returning next year. I guess it's good and bad news because, they're not going to have him for the rest of this year. But the way things were going and how long they haven't played with him, because at the beginning of the year, the optimistic thought in my head was like, all right, maybe they can get him back for the stretch run, and here we go. But then as time went on, he had to go back into the boot, and it was just like, yeah, you're not going to get him. There was the question of, okay, well, would he just decide, hey, he's already a senior, let's just go play March Madness, run it there, and then he's done? Or there was the possibility of him choosing to transfer somewhere else for next year, or stay and redshirt this year and stay next year. And that is what ends up happening here. Credit to Mark Ziegler of the San Diego Union Tribune here, as you can see on the screen. He wrote, sorry, I have the hiccups. Literally just happened as I'm starting here. But yeah, San Diego State senior guard received full medical clearance Thursday, 4 months after the initial diagnosis. Here's what he said: I'm going to redshirt this year and come back next year. Come back to San Diego State? Yes. So it seemed like Reese was very brief on what he was telling the UT there, Mark Ziegler. But just overall, getting him back for next year is going to be big because while Nick Boyd, he's a senior this year, but he can still play next year as well. And he plans on playing next year, is what I read. So while they have him having a starter, because Reese would have started, he was the Aztecs' leading returning scorer going into this year. So for him to return, and it just improves the depth. Instead of having BJ Davis get more minutes, now, and nothing against him, but I'd rather have Reese Waters on the floor. And BJ Davis is what, a sophomore? So you have Reese Waters there, and then you can have someone like BJ Davis coming off the bench. And he's had big games this year where he has shown up and shot the ball well. So it just improves it overall. And it's going to be a young team next year. And so to have that veteran presence with Nick Boyd, with Reese Waters, I believe Wayne McKinney's not going to be there. He's out of eligibility. He's a senior, transferred from USD. So Waters can effectively not replace him because McKinney wasn't going to be starting anyway this year. But just like take that spot on the roster, and then they can add someone else. So yeah, I think as for this year, this team has shown that they can win games against good teams with the talent that they have. Obviously, Miles Bird, he can shoot. We know the athleticism that he has. And Nick Boyd, he seems to be coming on now. Just had a great game last game. So to have those pieces, and then the talent that they have with JCJ and Magungwa, defensively there, they can win. They were able to beat Creighton this year. They were able to beat Houston. They've won some big games. Now, can they do it consistently? We'll see. And there have been some disappointing performances from San Diego State this year. But overall, I think as we've gotten deeper into this year, I've gotten a little bit more confident in this Aztecs team that they can do things without Reese Waters. Is it a hit? Yeah. Would you rather have Reese Waters than not have him? Yeah. But would I rather have Reese Waters just for March Madness, or would I rather have him, fully recovered? Because now he can take it slow. Would I rather have him fully recovered and, get his legs underneath him, shooting, play summer, the summer runs, all that, and have him for a full season next year? And you still have Nick Boyd, you still have Miles Bird, you still have this talent, assuming that those guys will stay and not go somewhere else with the whole NIL stuff that's going on. I'd rather take a full year of Reese Waters. Now, will I change my mind if the Aztecs, get pretty deep in the tournament and it's like, oh, would be nice to have Reese Waters? Yeah, but at the same time, actually, not yet. I wouldn't change my mind there, hopefully, because if they're getting deeper into the tournament, then they have enough. Especially like this Aztecs team, when they play defense, and that's a huge part of their program, if you don't want to play defense, then you don't want to play for the Aztecs. You're not going to. So when you have that, the question for me is going to be the shooting with this team down the stretch. So I'm happy that Reese Waters is going to be back next year. He's not transferring somewhere else, and that he's going to be healthy and things are progressing. I'm happy for him with that as well. He had a stress fracture, by the way, in his right foot. Maybe those that weren't totally aware with what was going on, and I probably should have mentioned that earlier, so my apologies there. But yeah, it's a great thing for the Aztecs. Dutcher said today, just overjoyed. Reese is a preseason all-conference player. He was our only returning starter. We saw what he can do when he's at his best. The Cal game, Gonzaga. We know what he's capable of, and now to have him as a fifth-year senior, it's like the perfect world for us. He's mature. He knows how to play. He's an elite player with a chance to play at the next level. And to know we'll have him back next year is just a great kickoff for the 25-26 season. And again, just some info from Mark Ziegler. Does a great job at the UT. Saying here, the initial plan was for Waters to return in mid-December after 6 to 8 weeks in a protective boot, play the remainder of the season. That's where, because earlier in the year, reacting to games, I was like, well, but they're not fully healthy. I know I said that after the Gonzaga loss. Like, well, what if Reese Waters was here? So I'm not freaking out too much. But then obviously it wasn't going as great as we wanted it to. CT scan showed the navicular bone. I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to act like I do. Probably just botched that. On the top of the foot that hadn't fully healed, and he went back in the boot. Subsequent scans had similar findings, and it became apparent as January became February that Waters would not return this season. The bigger question was, with a medical waiver to reclaim his final year of eligibility, whether Waters would use it at San Diego State. Thursday's announcement confirmed that. Dutch thinks he could be on the NBA draft board. It's a good shooter. It's someone that the Aztecs definitely would want here next year. I mean, you want him now, but again, a full year for Waters is what I would pick, because San Diego State contends at year in, year out. Year in, year out, they're going to be there. So to have him for a full year, we'll see what happens in March Madness. But to have him for a full year next year, sign me up with that. Assuming Magungwa stays and, there's not a huge NIL offer somewhere else that he can't refuse, to have him get stronger in the offseason and just develop, right? Miles Bird, another year. Nick Boyd return. Like, that's setting up for a pretty exciting Aztecs team. So give your thoughts in the comments, Aztecs fans. Coming up, what is next for the Aztecs? They've got Utah State on the 22nd on Saturday at 5 p.m. at Utah State. Should be an entertaining one there. And then their next home game, February 25th, hosting New Mexico. Free T-shirts for the first 500 students. That one's going to be on FS1. The game on Saturday is on CBS Sports Network. After those two, at Wyoming, at UNLV, and then versus Nevada to finish things off before the Mountain West tournament. And hopefully San Diego State's not going to have to win that tournament to get into the tournament.